This energy, Uranus, in Gemini, a sign of the mind, is a very ominous and positive thing at the same time. Gemini is often where you'll see civil wars and wars between neighbors. I am excited and I'm a little bit trepidatious. Uranus is like Prometheus. Now, Prometheus stole fire from the gods. He actually stole conscious awareness of self. And Uranus has been associated with that energy. Indeed, he is called the Great Awakener until about the end of June. We're going to be in a continuous nodal bending archetype.
Lunatic astrology.
We have something happening in our sky we haven't seen since 1691. And before that, back in the 1300s, that's going to be Uranus moving through the sign of Gemini, bending the nodes of fate. And while that sounds like a Game of Thrones title, it means destined and fated circumstances of reality are about to turn. And they're going to turn in ways that Uranus is famous for. Unexpected, shocking, and surprising, but also illuminating like a bolt of lightning. And we're going to talk about how this impacts the world and how it impacts you in June of 2026. This energy will be exact using the mean node of fate on the 12th of June and the 20th for the true node. We can basically say something along the lines of around June the 10th, add 2 weeks. We're in a highly intense turning point energy connected to fated developments for the world and in each of our lives. So welcome to today's Uranian narrative as we go into this story for your sun, your moon, and your rising. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about what it might mean for the world. And I've looked back at the history of 1691 and saw some patterns that might come to repeat. So welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Lori Lothian. We are using the Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses, of course, fixed stars, minor asteroids, the whole gamut. We'll talk mostly today about using this as a illumination tool. And what I mean by that is that Uranus is like Prometheus. Now, Prometheus stole fire from the gods, and he did not steal a candle or a bit of a burning ember from a fire that the god was burning. He actually stole conscious awareness of self. The Promethean fire is self-aware consciousness. You know, we love our pets, right? And how self-aware are they? And to some degree, now there's evidence that certain animals will recognize themselves in the mirror. I think that there might be evidence for parrots and crows and maybe chimpanzees. I'm not too sure. That's self-aware. You know that you are, I am, right? The thing that I am. You have a self-aware consciousness. Whereas there may not be such a self-aware consciousness among the spiders. And it's ostensibly true that humanity is the most self-aware of all the species on the earth. For gosh sakes, we contemplate our navel. We think about our life, past, present, and future. We anticipate events. Okay, and this anticipatory and ruminating from the past and anticipating the future is conscious awareness, the conscious awareness of being alive, of being someone who transits through time. And this energy that was stolen by Prometheus, and he was punished for it, is what we have been gifted by this element of Promethean fire, and Uranus has been associated with that energy. Indeed, he is called the Great Awakener. And if you're a part of the online community and you've noticed a lot of people talking about ascension or timeline splits, I would say that both of those are Uranian. When we talk about awakening spiritually, individually or collectively, we're usually talking about two main planetary bodies, in my humble opinion. We're talking about Neptune, who is the great dissolver, and he will dissolve the unreal. So there is an unreal you, a fictional version of you, just like in a movie, the character isn't real, but the actor who plays the character is real. So the dissolution of the mask or the false self or the character you are playing leads to enlightenment. Suddenly we see ourselves outside the bounds of our limited fictional identity that we have constructed through our life's experiences. But we also have Uranus, the Great Awakener, and that's that shot of lightning, that strike, that cattle prod of alertness that wakes us up even further through the pineal gland, perhaps even the crown chakra, to a greater activation of clarity and discernment, and feasibly the awakening as well as our psychic gifts. So this energy, Uranus in Gemini, a sign of the mind, is a very ominous and positive thing at the same time. With AI in the mix now, the mind of AI taking the human mind over, in the sense that we don't do the research. We ask AI to do the research for us, for example. Just one example. We use AI for therapeutic support instead of maybe just going inward and meditating. We have two minds playing out. And what is Gemini? Two minds. It is the mind of the mortal self and the immortal self, the Gemini twins. Our mortal mind is literally our fictional self, and our immortal mind is our deep true self. And I wonder where AI fits into that. Does anyone have any thoughts? Because I think that this is also going to be the bending in the sign of the intellect, the sign of the mind, the sign of communications and technology, Uranus and Gemini. We're going to see something going on in the next couple of weeks. I'm recording this for you June 3rd. It's pretty active already, but it really hits home sometime after June 7th, all the way through maybe until about the end of June. We're going to be in a continuous nodal bending archetype. If you are into your spiritual journey and you're wishing to experience an enlivenment of your true self, then use this energy over these next couple of weeks, like I'd say the whole month of June, to be honest, because it can be where you have those electric moments, those ahas, those like divine downloads. And for the world, we'll see some technological revolution happening for sure. And I'm going to use comparisons to 1691 and some of the technological and mathematical revolutions that happened then. And in today's world, we probably speak to it as quantum physics or physics revolutions, or quantum supercomputing breakthroughs, or even more breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. Okay. So again, welcome. If you're new here, try liking and subscribing. It does help the channel grow. Hitting the notification bell. Sometimes you ask me where the more button is or how to find things about me in the description box. If you're watching on a TV, which 13% of my followers do, you can't find it, go to a tablet, a phone, or a laptop, and there's a button that says more ... And under that is my website. It is everything about me, where other offerings I have, including a free video tutorial on how to cast your chart in whole sign houses and discover your rising sign. You'll need a birth time, but that's a very good tutorial for you to use if you're looking to figure out how to see your chart through the lens of the traditional system of whole sign houses. Last word, everybody on YouTube is using that. I know you're going, what are you talking about? Because we need to use the whole sign house system to delineate general astrology for you. One sign, one house. 12 houses, 12 places in your life. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm celebrating. I just moved into my new place. I don't have anything really fancy back here, but I will be putting something more than an orchid and a money tree in my backdrop, maybe some neon. But this is my new recording studio, my second bedroom, and my new home. Thank you for your patience as I've been moving and doing my best to keep up with my content with you guys. The celebration as 150,000 subscribers happened sometime in May. And so I launched a little sale of 40% off every single course I've taught. A lot of you went rushing in for the shopping cart there. Go for it. Code CELEBRATE, all caps. You won't see this kind of sale again. And it's courses like finding past lives in the chart, finding your spouse in the chart, finding your talents and gifts, finding your career path. A lot of cool little courses I've taught. They're about an hour and a half to 90 minutes long, 90 minutes to 2 hours long. They're replays, and you'll get the PDF slides as well. So go to laurilothian.com and click the button that says courses, drop down and start selecting the ones that are right for you. Now, let's get talking about the sky. I am excited and I'm a little bit trepidatious. The trepidation might be coming from the part of this story that lends itself to warring brothers and warring neighbors. And that's only because, and this is a world astrology, and we're going to do your sign, only because technically, and I will show you the sky, Gemini is often where you'll see civil wars and wars between neighbors. And it is the brother archetype, the twins. And it's a bit of a Jekyll-Hyde energy as well. And because we already have warring brothers in this world, because if you don't know anything about ancient history, the country of Iran and the rest of the Middle East, including the blue and white flag nation, they're all stemming from an ancient traditional bloodlines of like the two brothers, and I'll never remember their names, apparently. So the Islamic and the Judaic worlds are not that far apart. Let's call it that. And those brothers in the neighborhoods of the Middle East are fighting each other, enabled by the USA. And to my mind, I feel like that story could be very hot right now because there is precedent for that. back in 1691. And I'm going to show you a chart. So for those of you who are learning astrology, you'll see exactly how rare this is. We're not just talking about Uranus bending the nodes of fate over 300 years ago, but we're particularly talking about bending the north node, okay? Not the south node. So let me show you a chart, first of all, to give you just a graphic to give you an idea of what I'm about to share, all right? And about 40 minutes into this, we will go to the all signs. But please listen for this because it'll help you understand your own section for your sun, moon, and rising, okay? It'll help you understand it if you watch the introduction. And did I say please like and subscribe? If I didn't, please do. That is basically me going back to 1200. I went back to 1200 and then I went to 3000 and 4000, like 2000 years from now. And I couldn't find another one. All right. Unless the software doesn't cover that much on AstroGold. It's not as robust as AstroSeek. But you'll notice that, Uranus will be in Gemini in the past, moving through that sign once every 84 years for about 7 years. That's a rhythm. That's a rhythm. That's a rhythm. Well, that is happening. We also see the square to either the North Node in Leo or to the North Node in Pisces. It is the North Node in Pisces right now. This is the North Node symbol. This is also called Rahu. And it's what we want to build, to gain, to strive for, to accomplish, to succeed at, to be worldly successfully active in. And the North Node, South Node axis is always retrograde, contrary to the primary motion. And you'll notice here that we saw in 1356 and yet again in 1691 in June, by the way, this activation of the nodes. And it wouldn't be about the day of June 14th or whatever, June 6th that year, 1356 and 1691, but rather it would be about the 2 to 3 weeks on either side of these dates. So right now, as I record on June 3rd, we're in this energy field already. Uranus moves very slow, and bending the nodes is a slow grinding process, not a sudden one. That said, this time around on June the 12th, using the mean node, it will be exact square to the node, south and north node. And Uranus will be in an exact square to the true node on June the 20th. That's why I'm giving you a big range of time to consider this energy activated. One of the things I want to notice about that as well is that I tried to go forward, as I said, into the future, and I could not find a darn thing that was going to show up when we see this next. Okay, so we are in a bit of an extremely rare time frame. When this happened, of course, back in 1942, and that was the post-Dust Bowl, middle of World War II, or the beginning of World War II building up. We knew that Uranus was in Gemini as part of that whole nuclear detonation, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, all of that. That was a part of this, squaring the North Node in Leo. Okay, not the North Node in Pisces. So the concern I do have is the repeating of a theme like the detonation of 1945. This energy was triggered by this, but I don't think that will be happening. I'm crossing my fingers. Uranus is like uranium, right? Enriched uranium. Uranium. So there's that problem there. And Uranus is connecting right now in a trine to plutonium, and splitting of the atom. So all said and done, there's still that energy that could be active at this time. So the most risk I'm thinking will be that there will be a detonation event or a radiation, a fallout event of some kind. And I truly, truly hope I'm wrong. If that's going to happen, it may be triggered in June. Okay, that's the darker part of this narrative right here. And I'm going to show you the chart. We're going to look at this from 1691. Well, I don't even need to talk about. I'll just tell you what 1691 did in terms of technological breakthrough and military stories. In 1691, there was something called the Treaty of Limerick, and it was the cobbling together of a deal that allowed the Catholics to practice Catholicism in Ireland without persecution. It didn't last very long, but the idea of a troubled land with fighting brothers, for the Protestants versus the Catholics in Ireland, and this Limerick deal forged with England and Ireland to call off the stress and not be prosecuting Catholics, treating them fairly, I guess. And that energy could be positive this time around. Maybe we'll have some kind of deal. I hate when people use the word make a deal when it comes to horrific matters of war, as if we're doing Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall, an old show you guys don't know about because you probably are not as old as me. But it is interesting to me that there is this story that resonates with, a treaty of fighting brothers, right? People living in the same country, just sharing a different religious perspective. We also had in 1691 a very big siege, okay? Like it was a famous siege. I'm going to see if I can find my notes because I wrote it down. So I think I found the military siege that happened back then. It's called the Siege of Mons, Mons. And the Ireland Treaty of Limerick was from the Willamette War, okay? But the whole siege of Mons happened as a part of the 9-Year War, 1688 to 1697. And this was going to be an important siege of present-day Belgium by French forces. Again, neighbors, right? You're getting a tracking here, right? Belgium and France are beside each other. Warring neighbors. Okay. So basically, the French forces advanced siege engineering under the military engineer Sébastien Le Preston de Vauban, and Vauban's method represented the cutting edge of military technology and fortress warfare. And why I'm bringing that up is because one of the things that we saw in 1691 was the advancement not only of technologies in general, but Uranian energy in Gemini leads to technological advancement. But we also saw new techniques for military, war, siege, and fighting. And so today that could reoccur. We could have more new weapons, missile defense systems. We could have new ways that AI is integrated into it, including, of course, drones. We're going to have more development showing up, maybe revolutionary, maybe directed energy device warfare, etc. I hate to say all that, but it would be coming through as a turning point demonstration. I don't see it as just a news story. Mercury was in Cancer in 1691, where he is now telling Gemini what to do. Cancer categorically represents the homeland energies. It's more likely, instead of a public announcement that there's a new technology for fighting, there's probably going to be a demonstration of the technology. Okay. In 1691, a big development was called Rolle's theorem. It's a mathematical theorem. Why it was so important is it became a foundational theorem or concept that allowed for new directions in engineering, navigation, and also physics. So that could be announced. We could see that there's a new breakthrough in quantum supercomputing or some kind of new breakthrough in physics of some sort. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that in June, and that might be announced. It might make the cover of like the Atlantic magazine or New Scientist or something. There's even a new advanced calculus that was developed in math in 1691. So you see these science types developments, these mental mind developments. But overall, back in 1691, the world was at the crossroads between the scientific revolution and the coming age of enlightenment. And there were all of these kind of transitional foundational inventions. Because while we saw in the age of enlightenment, like things like the 1800s, the development of the steam engine and other such major changes to transportation, the things that built on it were those underpinning, Rolle's theorem and calculus advances. But cool, we also had the Edmund Halley's diving ball was invented back then for underwater exploration, allowing divers to stay underwater longer and replenishing air from weighted barrels lowered below the surface, from the surface. So this is one of the newest forms of exploratory technology that allowed people to go underwater for a very long time and led to later on, of course, underwater engineering developments as well. It was a seed for that. And what is the underwater world? It's the unexplored realm. So maybe we're also going to talk about spaceship technology or advances in technology coming through June that we become aware of, connected to exploring other planets or other dimensions. And also calculus, mathematics, underwater technology, military engineering, naval warfare, and scientific observation technologies were all a part of the 1691 Uranus square, the nodes of fate, particularly bending the north node of increase in the sign of Pisces. That's the naval engineering and naval warfare were big as well. So we also know right now there's a lot of arguing about who's doing what in the Strait of Hormuz. But of course, we do have naval and water and war war and engineering and technology themes that could be showing up in our lives, in the news, in the stories of the world by the end of June into early July. This nodal bending isn't a one and done. It's a slow bleed. It hits potency June 12th and or 20th. It kind of builds, it wanes, and it sets a tone of something coming. It sets a tone of something in motion. And my view would be it's most likely to be active and particularly juicy. Okay, like in our individual and collective lives, like really feel the vibe. It's most likely we really feel the vibe until the nodes of fate transition from Pisces and Virgo to Leo and of course, Aquarius. And we're going to see that transition this August at the very tail end of July. And in that regard, or is that July? Let me think. That's Jupiter. Is it the end of July? June? Or is it the beginning of July? I should know this, in July or in June. Let me double check with the nodal shift. Okay, give me 30 seconds to do that. Well, instead of me going in and looking at the chart without you, why don't we do this together as intrepid astrologers? Please like, please subscribe, and please share this with friends and fam. This is epic. This is extremely rare. So you see the North Node and the South Node at 2 degrees. This is the true node. The mean node's at 3 right now. Either one, they both work. They're both useful. And you'll notice it's just an average versus where it is specifically. And if you're born with a node at 0 degrees of a certain sign or 29, you're definitely going to want to check the true and mean nodes to compare. And here you're going to notice Uranus is at 2 degrees here and 42 minutes. This is pretty exact on June the 12th. I'm going to say that until these nodes get the heck out of Dodge and move into Leo and Aquarius, and I'm going to do that now, but it'll make you dizzy. So, because the whole wheel will spin. So roughly here, let's get it down to the days. So just, I think this kind of bending nodes, technological revolution, naval warfare and warfare developments, technology and warfare, treaties possible, like the Treaty of Limerick, it didn't last very long. Remember that between warring neighbors could occur. This is July 27th of 2026. Yeah, I was right. It's basically the end of July into August. So starting around July 27th and at 18 months, we have the nodes of fate going through here. So I'd say to the end of July, the nodal bending activation is active. Okay. It is still in play. It's really quite acute. This is just the now, June the 3rd. I'm just going to leave it there for a sec. And I want to point out what I mean by the bending the North Node of fate. Okay. So like for those of you who are learning astrology, just tune in a little bit. Okay. The North Node is in the 8th house, just if it was a Leo rising, right? Which is Donald Trump's 8th house. He's a Leo rising. The North Node is currently here. This is of June the 3rd. This is more exact on June the 12th. It doesn't matter yet. And then we want to look at Uranus over here. And what you would say is that if you have the North Node in the sign of Pisces, all right, you're going to be looking at Uranus over here, and he will activate a nodal bending there. I really want to share a great article with you guys who want to learn about your nodal bendings in your chart. I am a teaching astrologer. It is always my preference to teach rather than to just give you fish, like learn to fish yourself. And I think I may be able to share it with you. I think this is an easy, very, user-friendly article by Alice Sparkly Cat. Okay, I want you to go over there and just read about it and find where you have nodal bending planets. Not everybody will. You could say that you could have a nodal bending planet by degree, or you could have a nodal bending planet by whole sign house. Okay, so this is Alice Sparkly Cat, KAT.com articles, and this is called Nodal Benders. You can Google Nodal Benders Alice Sparkly Cat, and she's going to explain how they work in the chart. And this is one of the easiest ways to do this, is to go jump through. If your North Node's in Cancer, then this is happening here. If you're no. Okay, so it's very simple. So the thing I'm trying to get to is that where Uranus is sitting, he's actually bending the North Node. He's not bending the South Node. So if your nodes are in Virgo and Pisces, for example, so if your North Node is in Pisces, which it is right now for the whole world, any planet you have in the sign of Gemini, 90 degrees for your nodal axis will be your North Node nodal bender. I go with whole sign bending myself, meaning that just if I was born with my natal North Node in Pisces, any planets I have in Gemini, any planets are bending that North Node. Okay. Any planets, but the closer the degree to the natal North Node, the more intense it will be. That's the point. So go check out AliceSparklyCat.com and Google Nodal Benders, Alice Sparkly Cat, take it as you will, or just find that article, and then you'll be completely understanding what the hell I'm saying. All right, so that's the good news. The good news is we're bending the North Node. Sometimes the South Node bendings can be very difficult. South Node is what we need to release, surrender, and let go of. It's what we must diminish, and it goes smaller. It evaporates out of our lives, people, places, and things. And the South Node is what we volume up, not volume down. South Node volume down, North Node volume up. We strive to achieve, to succeed in the matrix. We want the cigar and the wine, like Cypher going back in. We want to play in the Leela, the game of God. We want to be creative and we want to be successful. Sometimes, however, Rahu, North Node can be very malefic because we lose our head, greed, power, going for it no matter the cost, and losing our soul in the process, losing the still point in the process, getting caught up in the game of life at the expense of our inner life. And that is the downside of Rahu as well. In the meantime, the world itself is looking at Rahu, so it adds more, it increases something. And historically, it has been technological, a war machinery technology, diving bell, exploration technology to explore this deep seas. So we're going to see some of that coming through, I do believe. And I want to say, I don't think it ends in terms of its influence until we end up getting into the transiting of the nodes of fate into the Leo and Aquarius axis after July the 27th. And you could conceivably say that we've been feeling this bending ever since Uranus entered into the sign of Gemini at the end of April 2026, making May, June, and July 3 very important months for the world and for each of us. So hopefully that helps and makes sense about the big picture. Now we're going to go through your sun, moon, and rising sign. Let me explain the difference between your sun, your moon, and your rising. I hear sometimes astrologers teaching or mentioning that your rising sign is your spiritual essence and your true self. And I'm disappointed or concerned by that perspective because it's not the true perspective. Now, you can say, how do I know that? Well, I'm using the ancient traditions. And I also know that from my own life experience. If anybody here in my comments has lived through Uranus going over your ascendant, or Neptune going over your ascendant, or Pluto going over your ascendant, especially by degree, you know it impacts the character in the simulation. Your health, your body is there, the physical form that your spirit inhabits. Your disposition to the world, happy, sad, mad, the I am, you can define, I'm a writer, I'm a communicator, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, how you identify the character. I am smart, I am prickly, I am funny, the whole character, nurture nature, call it what you will. You have a particular way of being that starts to show up as a child, particularly formative years. And by age of 7, it's pretty locked and loaded. Jesuits, give me a child for the first 7 years and, I can make the measure of the man or something like that, or the woman. It's true. And so, of course, sadly, you can traumatize children and program them if you get them in those first 7 years in the dark arts, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Go read the Talmud, anyone. And so, honestly, then, my view is that we are not anything truly connected to the ascendant other than it is the vessel for the light of spirit. And then we play through that vessel like a spacesuit, right? In reality, that is the way we are using the vessel for life. So your ascendant is circumstantially accurate because it's very prone to the vagaries of fate. It's connected to the moon. It's connected to lunar light. It's connected to the nodes of fate. You're essentially driven by fate when your character is just the only thing you're living from. Okay. If you're living from your deeper spiritual self, that's your solar energy. I'm a fire sign in Aries. That's my essence. That's who I am. I'm the fire flavor of God, air, earth, water, fire. And we have modalities. I'm cardinal. You could be cardinal, fixed, or mutable. There's flavors of the divine spark. You are one. Think of a rainbow, one light prisming into various colors. That one light that you are, that one shade of hue of the divine, that is your sun sign by modality, by element, by house, by degree. And then we have the sun playing in matter. So you can think of the sun as the actor or the actress who plays a character in the movie, or as the game player who chooses a character for the simulation in the video game. The same idea. And the moon is your mind. You're thinking, when I say mind, it's how I think and feel. Sufis say thinking and feeling, you got nothing. Stop. Don't rely on your feelings. They're not going to be true. Don't rely on your thinkings. They're not going to be true. Your thoughts will never lead you to truth. It is your knowingness, and your knowing place is deep, intuitive, and still, and it's connected to the knowing heart. So there is a part of you okay, that is always thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking. That's the moon. The moon reflects the true light of the sun, the spiritual light, but it doesn't have any intrinsic light of its own. It's a reflector. Your mind and your thoughts reflect the true light of your spiritual essence. They are not authentically real. They're just reflecting something that is real. But we live a life with thoughts and feelings. So when you meditate and when you get enlightened, when you're spiritually still, you're turning the moon down. You're dimming your moonlight so you can be in the stillness. Practical note, moon is your mother. Sun is your father. Moon is home and nest and safety, and sun can be career and purpose. Okay, ascendant is just a circumstantial character in the sim. Let's get going. Sun, moon, and rising. Settle in, settle down. This is going to be a ride. I'm looking forward to how the Promethean fire with shock and awe, illumination, and lightning strikes is going to impact each of us in one part of our life, one area of reality in particular, and that's the Gemini part of your sky, in concert with the Pisces part of your sky. Let's get started. We're starting with Aries. I'll be drawing your attention to Hecate, the goddess of the triple thresholds, or just a crossroads energy where you're asked to make a decision and go this way or that way. And you know what Hecate does? She splits your timelines already. So we have this idea that you could bifurcate. You could go left or you could go right. You could choose one or you could choose the other. And in that sense, this energy of Hecate on the North Node of fate that is being bent by Uranus will be highly activated. So we can see sort of a fated crossroads moment. And in your sign, as we go through your sign today, I'm also going to draw our attention to Urania. She's the muse of song and dance and music, but also of astronomy and astrology. And so in many ways, when we see Urania activated, and this time Urania, the asteroid, is on Uranus, we're going to find ourselves also, by the way, in the thick of what could be UFO disclosure land during the month of June and July. And of course, that doesn't surprise any of us because we're having Spielberg's movie release, which is basically a way to prepare the public for what's coming. All right, but for your sign, we're going to focus rather on the idea of crossroads turning points that are inspired by some kind of muse within yourself, the energy of that creative force that loves to dance, play music, to sing. And so let's go for that today. Let's get started with Aries. Of course, we'll be here for about an hour in case you're wondering. Settle in and let's get going. So the idea is simple. We have a bending of the nodes throughout June. On the 12th and the 20th is exact. So Aries, even though that's true, you'll probably feel the reverb after this of what is happening until about the third week of July, until about July 27th. And the turning point energy here with the North Node and Uranus in particular is a specific story of a crossroads decision connected to mostly 12th house matters, but also in relationship to the third house. What does this all mean? Well, first of all, you want to be very inspired right now in your third house. And this is the muse herself. So the ninth muse is telling you what is turning you on at the inspiration level. What is a muse for? It inspires us. It gives us, creative inspiration. And so you want that inspiration in the third house. That could be writing, teaching, communicating, learning. It could be short distance traveling. It could be connections to online social media landscape, websites, etc. It could be connections to local brick and mortar businesses. Whatever this is, you want to feel the juice, the excitement, and the inspiration that a muse can offer you, but at the very same time. And with the square to the crossroads goddess, you are going to be looking at a threshold moment. You will maybe split a timeline as you go this way or that way. And you have two different yous going through space and time, one that shows to the left and one that shows to the right. In your 12th house, it could be about addiction, self-undoing, bad patterns and habits. It could be about deep crossroads moments to do with your spiritual life, or it could be deep crossroads energies regarding money you generate from distant lands and foreign shores. This is the place where money comes from international people and places or far off lands. And so if your money comes from places like that, you might work for an international company. You might live in another country and get your money from your new location in your work. or like me or a lot of online entrepreneurs, it's just that old borderless income and digital revenue through payment processors like Stripe or PayPal. Those energies are very 12th house. And that is where you are trying to expand your worldly success. There's that North Node. And yet you're at a crossroads decision. The crossroads is simple, fellow Aries. I have my sun and moon here. It's feel the muse, feel the inspiration, and then proceed forward with your choice, because the muse is yelling for you to feel the inspiration. Okay, absolutely screaming at us. If we're just doing it because it's a job or it's road or the money's coming in, but there's a sense of boredom or ennui or lack of excitement, you're probably going to be having to face that truth and choose something differently. By the end of July, you'll know that the choice has been made. You'll have a sense of which trajectory you went on. And I will say this, I should not have this asteroid in here, so I'll take her out because people say, what is that asteroid? It's Ceres. It could be a disruption in fertilizer. Well, we already know that. So let's keep that out. This is the sun. And just having the sun in Gemini shining brightly there, it's really a spotlight on the third house for you. It's like, where are you focused here in your online social media landscape? Teaching, writing, communicating, marketing, and selling even. These activities of the third house are drawing your attention very profoundly. Crossroads decisions and turning points regarding siblings as a general principle, maybe neighbors, neighborhood, and cousins. There's also those things happening as well. You might find with Mercury ruling this narrative, because he's the boss of what goes on in Gemini, where Uranus is sitting, there may be some real big decisions to do with your fourth house as well, relative to third house matters. So maybe you want to change your neighborhood. You want to change what you do in the online work world, writing, teaching, marketing, selling, communicating, even in a local college would count, but you're changing something relative to the home life as well. No, don't stress there, because Mercury is with Jupiter and Venus, which brings great abundance, expansion, and prosperity. My video on that has already come out for all signs, because that lasts a whole year. But I love this energy for you, and it really does suggest that third house is communication. And if there's something part of your life where your job is to communicate, like I do online, you could be any kind of communicator. This is a media house. And then you're looking for inspired communication. That's the ticket. Okay. And you want to bring in the goodness that Jupiter and Venus are also collaborating with Mercury to gin up. So inspired communication that brings abundance and goodness and truth and wisdom and knowledge and enjoyment to you and others. That's the story I have for you. Let me know how it's unfolding, because this is going to play out, as I said, precision-wise, June 12th and or 20th, mean or true node, but also be sort of unfolding through until the end of July. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. What a fated week we have. And week 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say that watch, especially for around June the 12th and the 20th, when the mean and true nodes are literally bending the Uranus is bending them perfectly. But you also want to consider this will roll out till July. Let's get started. End of July. It kind of looks like money is the thing here. Kind of looking at the money, honey, the earnings, the resources, your pocketbook and wallet, how you spend, how you save. And your second house of Uranus is wanting inspiration. You know, this is the classic earnings house. You got to make money somehow in this world, unless you're a trust fund, silver spoon baby. And if you're not, like most of us aren't, then you're looking at how to gin up money to survive, hopefully also to thrive. What I think is going on here is that Uranus is actually talking very powerfully to the muse and asking you to be inspired, asking you to find the spark of what turns you on. The muse is where we feel like we're being invited into a channel of something greater than ourselves to express that. And you want to do that through the earnings process in your life. You look no further than a crossroads decision, perhaps in your 11th house, a turning point financial decision connected to the gains of your career. Hecate stands at the threshold and offers you the chance to choose the left or the right. Which way will you go? Probably one would be to stay exactly the way you are, doing exactly what you do professionally and making money exactly the way you've always made it. Even if you're not employed now, how have you always done it before? And what do you think another choice could be? Something is changing. Something is wanting to shift. You're going to feel this through the end of July. If you're actually actively looking for a new position or work, I don't mind Uranus trining Pluto in your 10th house. This could indicate success. I want to mention that we have people we like in the 11th house, friends, allies, benefactors. So sibling one older and, just friends. And so somebody in those groups of belonging may step up and offer you a choice, like stand in front of you and say, I've got wind of an opportunity. Let me tell you about it. And would you like to go take a chance on this opportunity? I feel like the energy of Mercury in your third house may say that the opportunity financially should emerge for you by the end of July. And it's very active, as I said, in June, may require something to do with travel. Maybe for the interview or travel for the position. That's possible. Also, the third house could be that phone call, email, text messaging communication that comes through Mercury in the third house of the internet and the media landscape that feels like a really beautiful golden opportunity email, Jupiter and Venus. And it really does say there's a turning point here. There's a timeline split. Are you going to choose the place of inspiration? I think, there's a book called, The Leap, maybe. And it's like, what's your zone of mediocrity, excellence, and genius? And if you're in the zone of your genius, then you're excited, you're inspired, you're on your A game, but you're not even trying because your A game is on you. You know what I mean? Because you're aligned with your talents and gifts that you were born to express. Funny enough, Mercury rules your fifth house of your natural gifts and talents. And he's the ruler of what Uranus is trying to do with the inspiration of the muse. So I'm saying, would you rather be rich and bored or sufficiently well off financially and absolutely having a blast and inspired? This is a time for you to consider the two choices. You will make a decision. A decision will happen. A thresholds, crossroads, fated energy is happening in our sky. If you watch the intro, we haven't seen this energy in our sky since 1691. So it's not like you've done this before and you have never, ever been confronted with this type of epic moment in time. So I'm offering you the chance to really investigate June and July, especially for how this is playing out in your reality. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Energy-wise, I'm going to give you a few tips here. One, I think that you might find yourself considering that you feel like you're jacked up on electrical currents, that there's enervation and lots of shock and awe going through your body because you're half Uranus in your sun, moon, or rising position, the place of Gemini. And this is impacting all of you. Okay, the moon is your mind, so you might be full of eccentric and erratic and inventive ideas. And then, the sun is your career and your path of your career could also be very much awakening your spiritual self. And the rising sign, Gemini, of course, is your character in the simulation. Please watch my intro. And it's being stimulated to have a great awakening. All that said, the muse is with Uranus, and we're finding that Uranus spending the nodes June 12th and 20th, but honestly, it runs all the way through June and into the end of July. The key point is you want to be electrically inspired and radically moved by the muse in your life. And nothing better or worse nothing else will do. Like mediocre won't work for you. It's almost like your third eye and your pineal gland have snapped open. Sun is shining brightly in your sign at this time, just doubling down on the pay attention to this energy during this mid-June in particular, and even through to the 20th. The energy of Uranus, though, does talk to your career points. Look at the 10th house. I have a progressed Gemini sun, and I really feel this, guys. I need to move into something that more deeply inspires me in the way I do the work I do. And I'm looking at that going, is this bifurcation split in my timeline? A timeline split is quantum physics style, right? Two types of realities superimpose each other, superimposition, and then one will win out, like Schrodinger's cat, dead or alive. So your crossroads moment is here, and it's in your career. I had somebody in my comment say, what is a timeline shift? And I thought, do people still today not know that? Like, go watch Sliding Doors, go watch any recent film, movie series, whatever. The idea of a multiverse and multiple timelines has become somewhat universal, unless you maybe have been living a little bit under a rock. But that aside, it's a career, guys. It's a career. So Geminis, something's got to give. You've got a thresholds, crossroads, turning point, pivot, Hecate with the North Node, inviting you to make a destined change that's in alignment with worldly success and growth of career, North Node, but also inspiration. The muse is talking to you. You feel her whispering at you. And if you follow the muse of that creative spark within you, that your godlet spark, your Promethean fire will be activated and you will be going in the right direction because something's got to give. Mercury is ruling the story from the second house of earnings. So money, earnings, and resources in alignment with crossroads changes that fuel the spark or the Promethean fire of what inspires your reality. So Mercury tries to bring it back to the money house, right? Flowing to that North Node, owning the North Node, or owning the Gemini sky that's a part of you. One more tip for us is that if you think about the South Node and Mercury's fourth house placement, excavate deeply your ancestral line. It's very viable with Venus's participation with Mercury that there are natural talents and gifts that you are meant to draw deeply into the well of your family ancestral line to extract those gifts and the inspiration and talent that goes with them so that you can be making crossroads pointed decisions around going in the timeline of your highest career and your highest earning and your highest expression of self. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Uranus, bending the nodes, not seen since 1691. I hope to watch my intro. This particular formation is bending the North Node, and Uranus is in your 12th house, and the North Node is in your ninth. Now, let's start with the North Node and Hecate, because the North Node is expanding worldly success in the house of courts, foreign lands and travel, book publishing, higher learning institutions, academic, ivory tower, colleges and campuses and universities, and maybe things to do with your spiritual community, guides, teachers, mentors, and your spiritual ideology, your religious beliefs, maybe even your dharma, the meaning of your life. There's been a lot of focus there for 18 months with that North Node moving through your ninth house. You've been really pondering deep issues around being in alignment with meaning and purpose. At the same time, the Hecate energy tells us you must make a crossroads threshold choice to cross into a new realm, a split of timelines. And the split is fueled by the Muse and Uranus together, Urania. Now, this Muse energy, she's like, song, dance, poetry, right? But the real deep, song, dance, and music, astrology and astronomy. Some of you might be inspired to start studying astrology, for example, or the stars, astronomy. But more importantly, it's really about that feeling every muse gives us. If anyone has ever been struck by the Muse as an artist or even as a scientist, once the Muse gets you, she's got you. You've got this like sparkling, brilliant inspiration idea. And it comes with a sense of destiny and flow. And in your place comes for your dreams at night often. Ninth house is the Asclepian dream temples, and the 12th house is what you do alone in your quiet solitude, which is sleep. I will say that this is a real good setup for a lot of you to get a profound inspiration from your dreams. If any of you do plant spirit medicine like ayahuasca or psilocybin or DMT, this is not so bad either because Ceres also indicates those storylines, and Ceres was hanging out in the Gemini sky too. So you might do a journey and it might be illuminating and it might spark a whole new life direction or a crossroads spiritual belief, a crossroads in terms of what you want to teach or learn academically. Mercury, of course, is the ruler of this turning point energy, and he's the boss of that Uranus and Urania. He's in the house of you. So all you Cancers have Mercury whispering sweet nothings into your character, ascendant, sun, your true self, and moon, your mind. Pay attention. Mercury is literally trying to get your attention, trying to whisper to you what you need to know directly into your mind, ear, whatever you want to call it. Mercury likes writing, teaching, communicating, social media. Mercury likes short distance travel. These are his third house matters. Mercury is also the ruler of your house of siblings. Maybe some of these crossroads choices involve siblings, and maybe a sibling is particularly instrumental in your turning point stories. In particular, a sibling one older or two older has a lot of clout in the sky, as well as a sibling one younger. And so look for sibling intersections into your destined crossroads choices, because it looks like that's quite obvious to me that maybe for some of you, siblings are in this mix. This is playing out really, yes, June 12th and 20th, but really it kind of lingers all the way through till the end of July, and then it will have tied up its story, and you should know what new direction you have chosen to head in, or the universe has chosen for you, if you prefer that. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Uranus is bending the nodes of fate. Buckle up. This is a story that we haven't seen since 1691 in the signs of Gemini and Pisces. Pisces is where the North Node has traveled for 18 months or so, January of 2025, with now Hecate, the goddess of the thresholds, where one must make a wise decision to choose one path over another. This is happening in the 8th house, which is a deep occult house. It involves your dreams at night too, because of the flow to the stellium in your 12th. It can also open up avenues of dead people talking to you from beyond, the great beyond. Maybe even opens up things to do with finances. Now, the thresholds financial stuff that you may encounter here in the 8th house is not just your earnings. It's maybe money that belongs to you and a spouse. Could be inheritances or divorce settlement money, taxes and tax structures, money from investments, money from royalty income or digital borderless income, money from things to do with, royalties or ad revenue from Google. So that kind of money is unearned directly from your paycheck. It's shared with others, royalty income, shared with the publishing house, right? So you might find there's a turning point, a real big decision coming here around that kind of money, as Uranus in the 11th house bends this story for you, bends the North Node, along with the Muse. Now, this can be a person, okay? This can be a sibling one, older up in your 11th house. This could be energies of people that are your friends, allies, and benefactors and friendship groups. This is also the gains of your career and your long-range visions and dreams for your life. But all said and done, looks to me like you'd be making a change in you might be pivoting pretty dramatically, looking for inspiration, listening to the muse and her voice of what inspires you and what makes you feel like the creative spark is alive within you. When it comes to certain financial decisions you're making, or certain relational decisions you're making with finances involved. And those relationships can be, again, friends, benefactors, allies, sibling, one, older, all of those things. With Mercury ruling the narrative of your 11th house from the 12th house, it's quite possible in this story that there are some major windfall energies here. I say that because Mercury, it was with Jupiter, good fortune. There is Mercury ruling the windfall and pennies from heaven house, and the North Node in the house of chunky money. You may have a crossroads event, not even a decision, where you feel blessed by something all of June through to the end of July. It could go that long, where you come into some money. Okay. So, and that is a crossroads turning point moment. It would leave you free to choose inspired career earnings and gains, particularly where Uranus and Urania sit. And so coming into some money to lighten your load a bit so that you can make different choices about the money that you make or the money that you have can be something I'm seeing here. Mercury does rule your income and earnings house, you see, and he's owning what Uranus is doing. For you, pay attention to your dreams at night, emails, phone calls, text messages from siblings, especially if they live abroad, and some major turning point decisions connected to money and or career. This is June and this is July. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, not seen since 1691. I hope I remember that correctly. Is this energy of the North Node being bent by Uranus. Uranus this time with Urania. Urania, the muse in your house of relationships, long-term committed love, audience, clients, marketplace, fans. Right? That 7th house is 10 houses from the 10th. So it's the output into the world, into the visible world, your career generated activities being more visible in the world. It is literally about being inspired. Oh, sorry, this is a crossroads. I should say Hecate, sorry. A thresholds crossroads decision is being made, not the muse, I apologize. It's being made in your long-term love relationships, how you approach your audience, marketplace, and clients, or your business partnerships. Now, the crossroads moment will bifurcate or split a timeline, Virgo. And it can be small splits, who knows, right? It could be a split to, should we get married or not? That's big. Should we move in together or not? That's huge. Given this is destined energy we haven't seen before, filled with Promethean fire, I think there's a huge consequence to relationship bifurcating crossroads moments for you all through June and July. It's up to you to take the higher path rather than the lesser path, or the road less traveled, if you like. I really feel like Jupiter and Venus are team you. They're in the house of good spirit, working. Jupiter in the house of his joy to support with Mercury. this crossroads moment in relationship working well. It could be a crossroads moment for single Virgos of meeting somebody new in social groups and settings. But what the Muse, Urania, and Uranus are trying to get at is very 10th house stories. So if you're going to meet someone new, you may be massively inspired by this intersection of destiny in a professional setting with somebody that you're going to really be sparked to fall in love with. But if it's not that story, because you're with someone already, it's really about how the world perceives your relationship. Your 10th house is the weddings and wakes, right? Divorce or married, weddings or no weddings. Then what are you doing up here? It's like a decision to commit to a higher level of public union. Something like that is trying to happen, but it could go either way, because when we see a threshold moment, we may not cross that threshold. We may stay on one side of it, which is kind of to stay where we are. I like to think of it as a fork in the road, right? You're hitting a fork in the road here. It's going to turn the tide dramatically or destined in significant ways in an existing long-term love relationship. And Uranus is pulling on that North Node really strongly. For some of you, business partnerships may emerge from this, of course, that are destined and fated, and you must decide yay or nay. Is that my business partner or not? Is it someone I want to work with as a collaborator? But for most of you, it's going to be about relationship. It really will be. Even if it's a long-term marriage, you're committed and monogamous, but you have not even moved in together, it doesn't matter. There's a sense of a major relationship is having a pivotal turning point, and there's a crossroads energy generated. I do enjoy the fact that Jupiter in his joy in your 11th house of good spirit is holding fort for Mercury to make wise decisions as Mercury guides Uranus and Urania to make the right choice. Maybe you want to be inspired by love, inspired by commitment, inspired by the trajectory of your partnership, right? There's a sense of a higher path that you could be taking than that you are rather than the one you're currently on. Maybe some of you can make a massive and sudden and exciting change in your work and your work gains and your career path because you sign a new contract. And between June and July, if you're looking for a new job or new work direction, for some of you, that could be also another narrative. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. I get the idea that you are feeling the energy of your not seen since 1691 node bending from the houses 6 to 9. I think you're feeling this in a very positive way all through June and July, in the sense that Mercury guiding this process is with the Lord of your sign, Venus, at least as this is beginning to precisely heat up around June the 12th. And the energy might be along the lines of something, so you want to participate in it rather than resist, is what I'm trying to say. It's about your work. It can be, the job, the service you do in the world, your employees, or the employer structures, employer structures here. And you've been expanding. You see North Node, worldly success and livelihood and work, as well as probably material resources, but also your reputation. You're like looking really golden, like golden boy, golden girl in career ambition at this time. Things are flowing, effortlessly flowing, success flows with great ease. Maybe that's a better word. And I'm not going to say it's all a bed of roses. I mean, of course, you're working hard. North Node will grab you by the BAL balls and make you work hard because you are striving like a ambitious, ravenous Rahu to be a superstar in the livelihood and work schema. But there's a crossroads moment here. Venus says pleasure. Jupiter says abundance and wisdom. Mercury says knowledge and truth. He's looking at what's happening with Urania and the Muse. And the ticket for you is purpose. Sure, it could be book publishing. Sure, it could be international travel or international employment. Sure, it could be matters to do with legal cases going your way. Sure, it could be, yeah. But really, it's Dharma. It's really about meaning. It's really about the North Node activated by Uranus and Urania, asking for divine inspiration and highest possible Muse level, full throttle alignment with purpose. What is your purpose? Why are you here? Okay, because you know how to be successful. You've been doing this like success story with Jupiter here since last June 10th. Even with the ups and downs of Jupiter square to Saturn, things are better than they could have been. And now that you know that you're good for it. You can succeed. You know how to succeed. It's a skill set. You've got it down, Libras. You know how to succeed. Are you inspired? Are you driven by a muse? Are you feeling that the muse is driving you to be inspired to your true north compass direction? All right. That's the key. So there may be some really pivotal choices in June and July about making sure you have that dharmic alignment with your path in life, your career. And I would say with Venus mid-June to early July, moving into your 11th house, you're in a good place to find yourself getting, yes, raises, promotions, and all of that, but also very lucky when it comes to career gains themselves and maybe even the procurement of a new job. So all said and done, there's a lot going on that looks very positive for you. I don't even think that I can find something negative, but I will say success at a cost or success with inspiration. Which path do you wish to choose when the threshold goddess stands before you and asks you to choose? Go deep, go into your inner life and decide. I think when you follow the muse, as Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss, you will always win out. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's quite important for you to pay attention to me right now because the North Node is one of the most positive places in your chart, finishing up her 18-month stay here. Rahu, the head of the serpent. Because this is where your natural talents and gifts lie, that you're born to express, because this is your house of good fortune, because this is where pleasure, fun, play, and good things happen. You've been expanding on those themes ever since 2025, January. And right now, there's a crossroads decision. We have romance here, sexual love. We have babies and child conception or birth. And yet you're on a threshold or a doorstep of something new. And you have to choose which way to go. Maybe the choice is left, stay where I am, or go right, but there's a choice point here. And the energy is being fueled, all right, by Uranus and Urania square, this node, bending this North Node. We haven't seen this bending like this since 1691 in the intro, if you listened. Are you making exciting, radical decisions regarding your creativity? Because your muse would love that. The fifth house is the house of the muse. It's where a spark of divine creativity, inspiration, enthusiasm to be filled with spirit, inspired, exists. And now the muse herself is in the 8th house, whispering really loudly to make radical breakthroughs in attending to that muse within. But at the same time, this axis, if the 8th house, could shatter karmic bondages, things that have held you back, life after life after life. Mercury rules what is happening to Uranus, and he's in the house of purpose and meaning and life. Or maybe even for some of you, you are really seeing that, hey, I'm a gifted, singer, and I need to go to to voice school or something, learn how to sing better. Like there's a need to even lean into learning maybe after this June and July to fuel your talents and gifts with a formal learning would be a good idea. I think you might be very inspired here under the sky if you were single to fall madly in love with a foreign person in a far off land. But you might also, and that would be a crossroads choice, to follow that love, which may be at a distance, which may be far away from you, but you feel the call, you feel the urge, you know it's true. My son, Scorpio rising, has a child on the way. So this is the turning point into parenthood, right? But it also is something to do, if you have children already, with your grandchildren. So some pivots in the grandchildren and children narratives. And it may involve money and major decisions regarding children and grandchildren and financial matters. Maybe whether you're going to step in and help or support. If you don't have a grandchild yet, or one of your children is not conceived a grandchild, it may open up this sort of destined crossroads, pivotal energy. Or one of your children is making a decision whether or not to continue with a pregnancy, right? You see, or that kind of thing. Your role might be advisory, okay? Stepping in with some guidance. June and July, you'll see some of this coming to pass, although June 12th and July 20th are particularly highlighted with the mean and the true the mean and the true node activated most precisely on the 12th of June and the 20th of the month, June. But by July 27th, the story should have come to pass in a way that is very clear for you to understand, okay? Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. First thing you might notice is that the muse is actually shouting at you from over here. There's Urania, muse of song and dance and music, and she's screaming your way. She's looking at you this way. She's focused on you from the house of other people. And this can be your marriage partner. This can be a significant business partner. This can be somebody in your audience, marketplace, and client sphere. Sun is here. Could be a solar authority figure. And this person is talking your way. This is not necessarily you. This is other people. And they have the muse and they're inspired and they're breaking free and they're breaking through and they're erratically busting out of stuff with Promethean energy in their own lives. And you might be witnessing it. And on top of that, with Hecate in the fourth house, a significant other in your life, including a marriage partner, may be looking at moving out. That may be their decision to follow their muse. And that's because with Hecate in the fourth house of the home and where you live with other people, and with Mercury ruling the 10th house of marriage, or like the wedding ceremony with a south node, there may be a sort of a divine cosmic orchestration to have your significant other make decisions around the relationship that are for their best interest and would be for yours too, right? In this crossroads thing, I'd encourage your partner to follow their own trusting, their own inner muse, even if it's not comfortable for you, about what they want to do in love. Now, if that's not a problem, if there's no kind of fracture in love that is pending, you may not even be with somebody. Mercury's interpretation of things from the 8th house to the 4th house, while also governing what Uranus and Urania are up to, could be a major legal contract or an offer to buy or sell or purchase money, or the beginning of a clear decision that needs to be made regarding family of origin money and inheritances. And so there's a decision that must be made with another. And there's a turning point around this at this time. And again, it's exact June 12th and June 20th, but we haven't seen this in 1691 in your life. So you don't have a lot to compare it to, you know? It could look as well like an encounter with some Uranian and muse-filled solar figure, which could be anything, honestly. It could be a star, a famous person. It could be like you finally get to meet, I don't know, Mick Jagger. Is he still alive? But then what crossroads turning point does that present in your life? So some very bright star-like being coming your way, full of creative, I play the guitar, I dance, I sing, coming your way, and you meet this like elementally like exciting moment in time, June 12th, June 20th, but also anytime in June after, the 10th or so. Tell me what happens. I'm really curious. Who are you meeting? Or I'd say even after the 7th of June, what's happening here? It is exciting. It's exciting. Mercury is out of bounds until I think it's June the 20th or 14th. My memory won't grab that one back out of the gutter of my menopause brain. But all I'm saying is watch for who this is. Somebody's coming in. Mm-hmm. They may be also fortified with some chunks of money that they could pass your way. This could be good for venture capital or business partnerships and major life turning point decisions for the domestic crew, those who are not, doing a lot with like venture capital. Then there's some major turning points to do with who you live with, especially in committed love and marriage-like relationships. And that whole union is at a threshold or a crossroads moment. You'll know the truth by the end of July. All right, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign, the triple thresholds goddess and the North Node. Let's talk about not seen since 1691. We have a bending of this node here, bending by Uranus in your 6th house. The 6th house is a house of your work, your job, and your service, your pets, your rental properties, your debts. We have the muse for inspiration, given this is one of the Arta houses of work. And because this whole thing is talking to Pluto in the money house, there's almost a deep, profound call for the muse to direct you toward a decision that is a crossroads. It's very important that will be playing out by the end of July. And you might note June 12th, you might note June 20th to see if it's more specific around those times. But like you've got a moment of Schrodinger's cat, what is superposition of two different possibilities in a option for work, career, and service. And especially so because Mercury, who rules this Uranian turning point, is connected to Venus, who rules your 10th house of reputation and career. They're sitting together in the 7th house of business partners and the 7th house of long-term love partners and the 7th house of marketplace and audience members. If you were single and looking for a relationship, this could bring you some very karmic and destined love story with somebody that is not necessarily local. They could be in a distant, far off shore or land, another country. There may be questions of having to travel in order to be together. The energy of the actual thresholds moment where there's a crossroads is in your third house. Some of these third house things could involve crossroads decisions regarding siblings that are one younger, three older, or three younger than you, as well as two older. Those are the siblings in play here. The other element would be major decisions you need to make regarding your local environment. In particular, which city or town or neighborhood you wish to be residing in. And the reason I say the residing in is such an important crossroads threshold is because it is also very strongly connected here to the goddess Ceres, which I took out, which is the earth, the agriculture goddess. It's in air Gemini here. I wonder if you're looking for the piece of land that would make you the most happy. I feel like the crossroads moment may also involve a decision connected to an inbound email, a text, or a phone call, mostly email, mostly internet derived. Look for that email to come in, or that messenger, Facebook Messenger or something, maybe closer to June 12th and the 20th. But also the whole fulfillment of the story doesn't really complete, I don't think, until the node shift signs at the end of July, With Mercury ruling your ninth house, where the south node is, there is definitely a call for some of you regarding crossroads decisions to do with publishing, writing, book publishing. Those themes are here. But, when I look at the sixth house, we call it servitude or indentured servitude or slavery. But really, it's where we're of service in the world. In our highest, best, and good, our job isn't drudgery, it's destiny. And we feel purposefully aligned with what we're doing. So all I'll say is that by the end of July, one of the things a lot of you are trying to do is get into a dharmic alignment, right? Ninth house stories. And it's not easy, right? Like there's whole books that people write about being on purpose or finding one's purpose or living one's purpose. But if there's anything to do with your career being aligned with your work and maybe making money on purpose, right? Pluto, Uranus, the muse. The key is inspiration, right? If you're not having fun, if the muse isn't shouting at you, if you're not feeling inspired, if you're not feeling creative by virtue of work and purpose, then there's something that wants to change, right? And to move you in that direction. And if you're retired, then it might pull you back into work and service from a deeper place of meaning, right? So the retired ones listening to me here, keep that in mind. All right, Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. I got to massage my back. I need to go to a massage therapist. I'm one of you. That's why I'm talking about me. So Aquarius, it's quite interesting to be going through that Pluto transit. How are you guys? It's pretty intense. I don't suffer fools gladly, including my own self these days. You've got to look at this not seen since 1691 crossroads moment. There's a threshold before you. A wise decision must be made. You need to go deep. You need to tune in. You need to pay attention to your inner knowing because you're making money decisions, earnings decisions, and resource decisions. As Hecate is going to be with the node of fate, while Uranus spends it on June the 12th, as well as June 20th, mean and true node. But more importantly, it kind of blows out through June into the end of July. And what it is inspiration, creativity, art, play, pleasure, fun, and joy. Uranus, inventive, original, and breakthrough. Exciting, change, and inspiration. If anyone ever thought that Follow Your Bliss by Joseph Campbell was just plain dumb, well, this is the epitome of Follow Your Bliss because Uranus is the Promethean fire of consciousness, of awareness of self, and it is in the house of your natural talents and gifts. Uranus is with Urania, the muse of inspiration and real muse, right? Song and dance and music and all of that. So you're really being asked to follow the muse, right? Follow the muse and choose wisely. Making money, North Node, since 2025 January, expanding your earnings, your resources, your worldly success financially, sure. But now there's a deeper layer going on of making a choice, and it's coming from the house of good fortune, but the house of creativity and the house of the muse. All right. So now you've got to choose from a deep place, not just about money and resources, but about being inspired, enthusiastic, and enlivened by life force energy, by how you make money. And it is a entrepreneurial house. The sun is shining brightly. You might have inventive, exciting, muse-inspired new ideas that bring you to a crossroads threshold moment in the earnings, resources, and job front. Because Mercury ruling that fifth house from the house of the work, the service, the job is really highlighted. Also from the house of employees. There's big decisions being made around employment, employee structures as well. And you're again driven by what inspires you, not by your survival instinct, right? The second house is like the survival instinct often to feed, shelter, and clothe ourselves. It's the very bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the pyramid. And you are looking for something much more sparkly than that. You're looking for not survival, but thrival. But thrival is because you are alive. The hills are alive with the sound of music. No, you are alive with the sound of the muse. And if the muse is operating through you, everything else will fall into place. Look for some crossroads choices by the end of July to tell you the story is probably true. You may make some threshold decisions also to change your dietary habits and styles. The second house is what you ingest through your face. And Mercury is in the house of health. And there may be a dovetailing here to make a sort of a exciting and exhilarating change of dietary habits. But because the fifth house is where Uranus is bending the nose in a way he hasn't done since 1691, it really is about the spark of the muse, creativity, and an earnest connection to divine will. And it's a Dharma house, the fifth house. It's your natural talents and gifts is the fifth house. You're here to, like, maybe this is a little St. Francis of Assisi in here, right? Venus is with Mercury and she rules the house of God. Maybe it's, Lord, make me an instrument of your what? Peace, creativity, joy, discernment, take your pick. So there's a real, give it to God going on for some of you with that fifth house and ninth house kind of secondary activations. Major turning point crossroads decisions are occurring regarding your children and your romantic and sexual life. And if it's to do with your children, it may have to do with crossroads, thresholds, moments regarding finances and children. In particular, it highly activates both the firstborn and secondborn child under the sky. When it comes to long-term love relationships, there's a crossroads moment regarding, whether to continue or not. And if you're going to go with the muse, are you inspired, enthusiastic, and turned on with life force energy with existing long-term love relationship? If that's the case, you're making decisions on whether or not this is something you're going to abide by. And because this house of speech is where Hecate is, it may involve a pivotal crossroads conversation. If that's to happen, look to June 12th and or June 20th. And certainly it can unfold as late as July the 27th, while the nodes of fate are still in the old axis of Virgo and Pisces. Oh my God, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. We finally arrived at you and I have to go out and take a walk. So that's perfect timing. I like the sky a lot if you are looking at the idea of you being the actual Hecate herself, because the North Node has been expanding you, and now you are this goddess of kind of like the Halloween witch. You're standing there. It's mysterious. You hold the path to a choice point, a crossroads, like sliding doors where the timelines can split. And you are the threshold. You are the doorway. You're not approaching the door. You are the door. And that sounds so zen. And as you are the door and you are the threshold itself, Pisces sun and moon and rising, Pisces moon, your mind, Pisces sun, your internal nature, Pisces rising, your character simulation are the door, is the door. And you have this capacity then to be extremely available, I would say, to a timeline split of all the signs here, a real quantum timeline shift, because you're looking from the fourth house Uranus and Urania. I mean, the fourth house is the ancestral line. It's the root. It's your family of origin, but it's fundamentally where you live, right? Got to put your head on a pillow at night. You got to sit out here as a tent, a car, a safe house, a crack den, or your own home. It's a place you got to sleep at night. You got to sleep somewhere. And this place of your domicile, your home or your nest, is where Uranus is saying, we've got to break free, break through, make a radical, unexpected change. And we also have the muse of song and dance and music. I just say it's also about being inspired in and from your home, finding yourself absolutely in love with what you're doing in the home, who you spend time with in the home. The sun is shining brightly down there. That's tough on sleep. Every year, you probably don't sleep so great between the third week of May and the third week of June. It's like having the light on all night long in your bedroom. Okay. So that's happening, but it's shining a light in the darkness, the midnight hour. The sun is shining something for your perusal. And Mercury says, well, I'm over here. I'm the boss of the story, but I'm in the house of creativity, art, the muse, sexuality, romantic love, falling in love, being in love with life, in love with your talents, in love with creativity, and love with inspiration. And all of that's over there. And Mercury's trying to get Uranus and Urania to heed his advice, right? Kick up a storm and make a change. On a practical note, a change of home, right? It could be a rental property opportunity because the sun is a ruler of rental properties here. So in that case, you may suddenly stumble upon the perfect rental opportunity or hear about it. And when I say hear about it, like anyway, a conversation, email, a listing, you might be notified of an opportunity. You could feel like good fortune, could feel really lucky because Mercury is in the house of good fortune and Venus is there in her joy as of the 12th and 13th. Not a bad time, conceivably, to come into some money, but it would come from your family of origin. It could come from a sibling, 3 older, 3 younger. It could come in as well from somebody from your past, somebody from your childhood. And we would say a lucky opportunity or a moment of good fortune. And it could be feeling very much like a good fortune befalls me and it's from another person. It's coming my way. I'm not in charge of it. But it has a feeling of destiny and it has a feeling of indebtedness. And so maybe it's almost like you deserve it or you're owed it anyway. If you have any iota of inspiration, even the smallest amount, creatively or artistically coming through June, then please follow up on that inspiration because from the 5th house and Urania herself in your 4th house, it really shouts about finding the spark of something that turns you on, whether it's romance and sex or inspiration around creativity, either one. All of those are true. The angularity of the South Node to Uranus in the 4th house could shatter unexpectedly an existing long-term love relationship. Okay. I have to be clear on that. That wouldn't surprise me. It could just sort of like crack up or crack down or break apart. And the threshold you're on is decisions regarding that relationship. It could be a conversation connected to a romantic partner or long-term love partner. And it could be June and it could be like very pivotal life turning point energy. Most obvious for this is a change of where you live, that by the end of July, you've secured a residential shift, or at least you know where you will go, even though you may not actually make the move, let's say, until later on in the fall or something. You have a clear and present plan that has descended upon you in a fated, destined crossroads turning point way. All right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. I don't really have an outro for you today. I'm still moving, unpacking boxes. I haven't found half my equipment for recording. The big ones I have, but not the little ones. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget, liking and subscribing grows the channel, and it's like a tip jar. All you have to do is press buttons. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one. I have no idea what I'm doing next. It's probably the Gemini full moon that's coming up. New moon. New moon, full moon. Like I can't even remember what the next lunation is. That's how bad it is. It should be a Gemini new moon coming up in June. June the 14th. That sounds like it rings a bell. Yes, 24 degrees of Gemini, new moon on the 14th. That'll be the next video you see coming after this one. Enjoy the ride. See you guys soon. Thank you very much. Lunatic astrology.